All right, so
Any idea what the delay is?
it's a couple of seconds.
Okay. It's not like Icky said he's up for like 20 seconds.
Yeah,
Watching the screen was a nightmare.
yeah, it is kind of a delay there.
You got a nice goatee. That's a nice thick goatee. You need to put a little oil in that, man.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. But let's see. I don't see anybody. Let me go post again just to make sure.
I'm going to pop out the chat here. And I've got I posted on Twitter. It says there's 6 people waiting.
Control B.
Let the world know we have arrived.
Yeah. I don't know if it's a delay or not, but it only shows one over here. Hey guys, welcome to the stream.
Yeah, I
I
show
got
3 watching live right now.
Sapphire Ed here with me, so we can discuss over the new 5700 XT's Nitro and the Bolts. I'm actually really excited about hearing about this trick stuff because I got a ton of questions about the Vega as well. If you can answer those.
I've been watching the discussions, and I've had to bite my tongue a few times on the Facebook forum because I'll watch somebody say something. I'm like, no, but how do I say that without sounding condescending?
Yeah. Um. So with the trick software on the Nitro series, the BIOS that's
Uh huh.
set for that, does it override the driver's power settings?
Well, yes and no. The driver doesn't actually provide the actual power setting. The driver provides within limitations provided by the BIOS. So what we found, you go back to the 400 series, is the new AMD chips love power.
Mm-hmm.
The more power you get them, the faster they can run. So to achieve any level of decent overclock, and in the 5700, it's really hard to get any overclock. You have to run more power.
Mm-hmm.
And the more power, I know we take some flack for that in some reviews. We
Yeah.
run more power because we can run a more stable speed. So when we hit our boost, we hold the boost longer and better than most of the competition do because they don't run as much power to the chip. So the power limit on the chip gets hit really quick. So the actual drivers don't control that too much. That's controlled in the BIOS of the chip. And just to fix some confusion, so a lot of people thought we had 3 BIOSes on the board. We don't have 3. We have 2. We have a performance and a quiet mode. What
Mm-hmm.
quiet mode does is the power's reduced, the core speeds are reduced a little bit. The fans are a little less aggressive. That's the idea behind the quiet mode. The power mode, we up the power, we make the fans more aggressive so you can get a little bit more speed. The third BIOS selection, the one farthest to the closest to the I/O ports,
Mm-hmm.
is actually a software select BIOS setting. Now, what we've got is in the new tricks, if you've got one of these cards, you have the option to select between the 2 BIOSes which one you want, and you don't have to open your board. Open up your case. You can do this just through software. In fact, as near as we know, we're the first company to ever introduce this option. Now, this is not a rewrite of a BIOS or anything else. There is an electrical switch inside the box that's being controlled by the software to make the selection. That's a really neat little feature. Doesn't get me as excited as Tricks Boost, but it's still a neat little feature.
Yeah, sounds really cool. Um, like, let me pull up my thing here so I can stay on track.
No worries.
With BIOS being the way it is, how come AIBs don't send out updates like motherboard manufacturers and stuff like that?
Because, quite honestly, even motherboard updates in BIOS, not a lot of people do. And most of them, in my opinion, that do it for the wrong reason. Even with drivers, you don't update unless there's a need. Okay, if your system is fast and it's smooth and it's stable and everything's working great, and your motherboard manufacturer comes out with a new BIOS, don't install it. You're already reaching what you wanted. You're not gonna. It's not worth it. With video cards, it becomes, I think, even more complicated. There's no simple way. You've got to go into a special software program. You've got to load up the BIOS to do it. Now we do BIOS changes, but BIOS changes tend to not have the same level of complexity. A BIOS change in a video card might be a different base clock speed and a different power curve, or a slightly modified fan curve. And that's it. That's what you're going to do. Where with a motherboard BIOS, you could be updating RAM compatibility, SSD compatibility, chip option selection. You could be changing feature sets within a multitude of items on a motherboard. It's just not there on a video card. I think in most cases, video cards get their BIOS right 90% of the time on the first run. So there's just not really as much of a need to update the BIOS.
Well, I'm part of a. I mean, I have always been into modding my stuff, and I use the faster BIOS on the Vega 64 I currently have with the liquid cooled BIOS.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it's great to play with. It's great to benchmark with, but I mean, for the most part, I end up flashing it off if I really want to go in and do hardcore gaming sessions, because I'm always worried about longevity of chip. Even though I've got AMD cards in the other rooms with, been overclocked R290 1400 for 5.5 years easily.
Yeah, but with a BIOS flash, when you do it where it's a different chip or different card's BIOS flash, there's more to it than just the BIOS. I can't remember which card this was. I don't remember if it was a 400 series or a 500 series, but everybody was flashing to the next level of card, and they were all excited. I think it was Vega, and they were all excited about the performance difference. Except what they weren't taking into account was the Vega 56 didn't have the same VRM setup as the Vega 64.
Mm-hmm.
So when you flashed it, you were making that whole card perform like it had this massive VRM setup, and it didn't. It didn't have the same quality. So you risked, it wasn't the chip that you were risking damaging, it was the board you were risking damaging by doing that. There's a risk every time you do stuff like this. And this comes back to one of the complaints I hear a lot is, why don't you warranty cards after people take them apart? And the reason for that is because people want to water cool their cards sometimes. Well, why can't you warranty the card? The reason for that is there is no way on earth we can know your experience level, your knowledge level, when it comes to you doing this work. So if you're an experienced modder, if you mod stuff all the time, taking apart a video card and adding a water block probably isn't a big deal to you. But what about Harry Jenkins down the road, who has his first computer and some YouTuber has told him he needs to water cool, and he opens it up with no clue how to do it and damages the card? How do I provide him a warranty if I gave you a warranty, but how do I provide him? Mic volume. Yes, I can increase my mic volume, or he can turn it up in OBS.
Is it mine or yours?
Mine, he said. Or no, Kevin, he wants your volume up. I'm loud. You could probably hear me without a mic. And that's part of the problem with a lot of this. The enthusiast community, especially today, it didn't used to be this way. The enthusiast community forgets it's a tiny fraction of the overall PC gaming world. Just a tiny fraction. And it's really difficult to make sure the enthusiast community can get the things it wants, but protect the rest of the community that doesn't have the knowledge and skill set to make use of those things. It's a tough balancing act. It's really hard to do.
So, would it be possible to do something separate for that particular community? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that do it, but I mean, in all
how do you separate the community? Okay, you know what? Let's look at a few options. We've actually explored this. Let's look at a few options of this, okay? So when you want to buy a video card, you need to fill out an application. And in the application, you need to give us 3 references to show your tech knowledge and maybe a few videos and photos showing you've actually done this before. Okay, well, that idea is not going to go over well. Let's make a video card that's just for the enthusiasts. Okay, well, that's great, but how do we tell if just an enthusiast is buying it? Well, we can increase the cost to provide for the extra warranty features necessary. No, that doesn't make sense. There's a lot of... It's not as simple as saying this card is for the enthusiast community. It doesn't work. Look what Intel tried to do with the K series. Mm-hmm. The whole idea behind the K was supposed to be these are overclockable chips. These are chips designed for the enthusiast community, except everybody bought them. Mm-hmm. And you had people overclocking that didn't have a clue what they were doing. I know people that Intel told me, oh my God. It was they were amazed at how many people were buying these chips, trying to overclock them, blowing up something, and then blaming Intel. It's a tough balancing act to make this work. You want to support the enthusiast community, but the majority of your sales are to non-enthusiasts when it comes to tech hardware. So you got to find a balancing act, a way to make that work. And sadly, because I'm one of the guys that was one of the original enthusiasts. Back in my day, get off my lawn. It's sad for me, but the enthusiast community has begun to dwindle. It tries to make itself bigger than it is. You go look at the average PC gamer, and I know a ton of them. Most of them really don't know how to open up their PC and do things. They want to be able to sit down and play their games, and that's not bad, okay? I use this analogy a lot. I'm a pretty bright guy. I know how to change my oil. I know how to change brakes. I know how to do most basic automotive repair, but I don't do any of that because I want to drive my car. I want to get in my car. I want to turn the key. I want to put the car in drive. I want to press the gas and go down the road. I don't want to have to worry about all that other stuff. That's why I pay a mechanic. That's the PC gaming world today. They want to get in their PC. It's the console shifting over. They want to get in their PC. They want to play their games. They want to have fun. I'm going to have to take off my glasses because you're getting a ton of reflection on those off these lights. They want to just have fun. They want to play their games. And that's great that they want to play their games. But we have to make products that are designed to help them. Because they're the ones that actually need that little hand up.
Yeah, I understand that. I guess the easiest way to be would be like, when you open Wattman and you go over to Global.
Don't open Wattman. Don't open Wattman. Don't do it.
It doesn't give me that many issues, honestly.
It doesn't give you that big a gain either. I've got a theory, and I've had a couple of people smarter than I am back this up. If you go back to the early days of overclocking, Celeron 308 was where I really started overclocking. That's how old I am. there was a huge difference or huge disparity of yield of chips. So you'd get a wafer of silicon for Celeron 300As, and they would do everything from 150 megahertz overclock, which at the time was a big deal, to barely overclock, and there was no rhyme or reason on the die. The disparity was huge. And that's because the processes were still immature. You fast forward to today, the processes on chip manufacturers are much more mature. The yields are much more consistent when you get a die. So the result is we're seeing a lot more chips near their potential when they leave the factory. So you're not getting the chip that's a super overclocker. You're not getting the chip that's got amazing extra headroom. With the Silicon Lottery now, winning the Silicon Lottery is like winning the real lottery. Before it was like 1 in 100 chips. Now it's 1 in a million chips that you can get that real overclock headroom. So the features like Wattman and stuff are cool if you want to tinker. I think for the majority of people, I think we've come up with a little better solution with Trix Boost. I really do. I think we've got a better solution.
Yeah, I like playing with the one on the Nitro, but it doesn't. I mean, I can get the same exact settings with, Wattman, and it's
yes and no. Yes and no. It's a little more complicated with Wattman. It's not as simple as move a slider, click apply, and you're done.
Oh no, I put in numbers.
Right, and well, it's numbers. You got to do math, and it's very simple with Wattman to do this. And it with 4K and 1440p is where, or not with Wattman, but with Trix Boost. Trix Boost shines at 4K and 1440p. So let's cut through the crap. Let you guys know exactly what this is doing, so we can move on. Trix Boost creates a custom resolution based on the scaling you give it. So if you want to come down from 4K and you move the slider down to 90%, it creates a resolution that is 90% of the pixels that's in 4K. And then what you're going to do is there's my son in the background there. He's cleaning house. What you're going to do is you're going to go into your game and you're going to set the resolution of the game to that custom resolution. Now, the drivers and the screen are going to expand that resolution to fill the screen. So as far as you're concerned, it doesn't look all that different. What I have found is at 4K and 1440p, you can go down to 85%. And your gameplay experience, this is important, it's your gameplay experience only changes with the level of performance you gained. The visual quality does not change drastically. Now, I've had people argue that. They're like, oh my God, the visual quality is so different. And then they'll send me a still image that's been zoomed in 180%. You don't play your games that way. This is about gaming experience, or as Steve at Gamers Nexus says, quality of life. Mm-hmm. This was about giving gamers the ability to make a real change to the performance level if they felt they needed it, with only a very minor change to the image quality. With Radeon image sharpening, you can take back a lot of that loss. Mm-hmm. The performance games, though, often outstrip overclocking. Okay, so Division 2, for example, I play the game at 1440p. I got my settings tuned in, and I get around 100 frames per second with my 5700 XT at 1440p with the way my settings are tuned in. Mm-hmm. And then I go into Boost, and I turn it down to 90%. Now, that's where I stop is 90, but 85 still looks great. I turn it down to 90%. In Division 2, my average frame rate in the benchmark jumps from 99 to 120. That's no extra heat, no extra power, no extra noise, and all I did was move a slider. And I can't tell the difference when I'm gaming, except my gameplay is smoother. I love this feature. It's a feature we've seen in a lot of games recently. But this applies to, well, I haven't found a game yet that can't use this. And it doesn't just apply to the 5700. I mean, we now have what? We have RIS down into the 400 series.
Yeah.
And even without RIS, it still works. So you can go even older cards and still get the same effect in Windows 10. The only limitation we have found so far is it doesn't like 21 by 9 monitors. 21 by 9 resolutions just don't work yet with it. That doesn't mean we're not trying. It just isn't there yet.
So, like, RIS, is it both upscaling and sharpening, or can it just be one or the
RIS is
other?
only sharpening. RIS is only sharpening. The upscaling, if you call it that, is happening within the monitor and the drivers. And in fairness, it's not even a true upscaling.
So
and this is the same. This is the same as when you make a custom resolution, as you mentioned in Wattman. It stretches. It stretches the screen to make it fit. And at 10 to 15% difference in resolution at the higher resolutions, that stretch is really hard to notice. It creates a softening effect. There is a softening. That's why RIS, it sharpens everything back up. There is a light softening effect. But the key is, again, I got to stress this. This was about quality of life for gamers. This is about the gaming experience, not the still image experience. Yeah. This is about helping you get smoother gameplay. So, yes, if you want to take stills and zoom them in 100%, you feel free and you're going to see a difference. And you're going to say, oh my God, that's... if you just want to play your games, all you're going to see is a much smoother gameplay experience and a little bit of uplift. And I think that little bit of uplift is key. 5700 XT is... It can play at 4K. Sorta. Okay, let's be real. It's not meant for 4K. It's a 1440p monitor. Mm-hmm. But you take that 4K down to 85%, you've still got most of the image quality that you got from 4K, but now you've got really good 4K gaming experience. It's like I said, it's a wonderful feature. I'm amazed nobody has done it before this. But we're there. We're first. We've been first on a lot of things over the course of the years when it comes to graphics cards. Give you some examples. People, I'm amazed how many people don't know the history of Sapphire. Sapphire's been around a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Back to the ATI days. Mm-hmm. The very first HDMI port put on a consumer level graphics card was done by Sapphire. We were the first ones to do it. The very first out of the factory overclocked graphics card was done by Sapphire. First ones to do it. The very first card that used the big heaters that we see now, the big multi-fan heater systems, was done by Sapphire. The first graphics cards to use vapor chamber technology was done by Sapphire. You look at the stuff you see on your video cards today, a lot of it, we were the first to do it. By the way, you're all welcome. We're happy to do that. And so now we're introducing two things that are kind of new. Like I said, the software BIOS select. Nobody's done that we're aware of. Now, if I'm wrong, somebody tell me, but I don't believe anybody's ever done that. And it at least not in a consumer level graphics card. And then with Trix Boost, we've introduced a really nice quality of life upgrade for all PC gamers. We're proud of it.
Yeah, I really like the Nitro series. I like the Sapphire's video cards in general. I just came back to Sapphire after being on FXX for like 10 years because I had a bad run-in way back in the day with Sapphire with just support. And it was just like, I'm not dealing with it. And then whenever the first time I contacted XFX support, it was like, yeah, we'll just send you a new heatsink right out. No problems.
Heatsink?
Yeah, it was a fan that
Holy
went bad.
Crap. Yeah, we fixed that too.
but I mean, that was so long ago, and I was like,
We
I
weren't
was
the
in the
first, by
dark.
the way, for that, but well, people in the PC gaming world are a bit reactionary,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the world at large today. But I'm going to stay away from politics.
Mm-hmm.
There's an outrage culture approach. Let's get out of the video cards and even the computer world for a minute. We'll use a bigger market so people can understand this. There have been some amazing cars produced over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And probably one of the best quality-wise going forward has been the Mustang. The Mustang I don't know that anyone that's ever ditched the Mustang line of cars. Yet I know Mustangs that were lemons. They seem to break down constantly. They seem to have issues constantly. You can have the best quality control in the world, and our quality control actually is amazing. I'm not allowed to give numbers on all of this, but I know what the percentage RMAs are, and holy cow, they're ridiculously lower than I ever would have believed could exist. But no matter how good your RMA is, you're never going to have perfection. It doesn't exist. And people are going to get bad cars. They're going to have a bad experience with somebody in tech support at some company. Something's going to happen. My advice is don't let those things turn you off to a complete product line. Judge a product line on its merits and its long term. The whole concept that Steve and I from Gamers Nexus have talked about this, by the way. We think it's funny. About 2 years ago, I started pushing the narrative that we need to focus less on core speeds and frame rates, because the difference from a stock reference model card to the highest factory overclock was only about 3 to 3.5%.
Mm-hmm.
That's irrelevant. It means nothing. What you want to look at is the quality of the build. You want to look at how good the cooler is, how good the fans are, the feature sets the card provides. Does it give you the feature sets you want to have? Does it do anything that uplifts above the other products? These are the important things. And for too long, everybody's focused on frame rates. Look, we'll go back a generation. This 580 is 2 frames per second faster than this 580, so this is the one you need to buy. Well, what about quiet and cool? That's 2 frames per second faster. This is the one you need to buy. What about price? What about we had this discussion on one of the Facebook groups. You probably saw this. I pulled out of the discussion, by the way. Somebody made a comment. Well, there are people that can notice a 3% performance increase.
No way.
Really. Let's take that up. Let's say it's 5%. Okay. So as a gamer, let's talk about 5% for a minute. So let's say you're getting 30 frames per second on your game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a performance boost, by the way, at the low end is really going to be noticed. You're getting 30 frames per second on your game. A 5% performance increase is 1.5 frames per second. Do you really think you can tell the difference between 30 and 31.5 in gameplay? Not with a counter, just in gameplay? You're not going to see it. Well, let's go up to the other end. Let's say you're getting 100 frames per second. Do you really think you can tell the difference between 100 and 105?
It's just not.
You can't.
I go 50% at least, 40 to 50% on GPU upgrades.
And you know what? That's a good number. Back in the early days of overclocking, back way back, we had what we called the rule of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, anything under 10% is just physically impossible for a human to notice. You can't see it. You have to measure it. You can't physically see it. So if you want to have an overclock, and all of this, at the end of the day, this is where I think we lose it. All of this at the end of the day is not about the tool. It's about what we do with it. Mm-hmm. Frame rates are great, but if you've got a great, smooth gaming experience, what does your frame rate matter? If the experience is smooth, is faster really going to make it better?
No,
And we
just the
focus.
lows.
Yeah, we're going to focus on it. We focus on it too much. We forget it's kind of like a carpenter that everybody's excited about his hammer. Look, it's bejeweled and it's red, so it hammers nails 5% faster. It doesn't matter, because what makes the carpenter happy, what the end result is what's important, not the tool.
Mm-hmm.
And as PC gamers, we get so focused on the tool that we forget it's about the games. You can have the best game on the planet, and if you're only getting 60 frames per second, you're still probably having fun and enjoying it. You can have the worst game on the planet, get 300 frames per second, and it still sucks.
Yep.
It
doesn't make you a better gamer either.
It doesn't. There's nothing wrong with a good gaming card, okay? I sell them. Buy them. I want to eat lunch tomorrow. Buy Sapphire cards so Ed can keep staying fat. Now everybody's going to stop to make me skinny. Stop it. Our goal at Sapphire is to build a product that allows you to, boy, I hate to say this, almost forget you got the card. Because it's quiet, and it's cool, and it's stable, and it's well constructed. And again, we're giving you tools to make the experience better. Because once that card is in, the gaming is what you should be focused on. And we do our best to give you the best product to achieve that. That's the goal. We try to keep pricing at a reasonable point. I know when our Pulse came out, everybody was freaking out. We were only $10 more than reference. We worked to keep the pricing at a reasonable point. Nitro Plus, yeah, okay, you know what? It's $440. I understand. But you got a lot of extras with Nitro Plus. You got a massive cooler that is, well, again, I'm going to refer back to Gamers Nexus, where he showed it is without argument the best cooler in this series. You got a massive cooler. You've got a fan curve that can be adjusted to get really quiet operations and stay cool. You've got the quality of life additions that he mentioned, like the ability to control the RGB if you're into that with your motherboard. You've got easy, quick replace fans for maintenance or for cleaning. Just if you want to clean the heatsink, it's easier to do. Then we give you tricks, and with Boost and with the BIOS switch, so we gave you the good quality of life option. And this is where the extra cost comes in. We even did something else that surprised me. Anybody that knows me knows I hate RGB. I hate RGB. It's been overdone to death. And then I saw our new tricks card, or the new Nitro Plus card. It's early in the morning, guys. I'm still getting caffeine in me. I saw the new Nitro Plus card, and suddenly I want to build a unicorn puke build. Because it's so pretty. Yeah. It's tasteful. It's not crazy. You don't look at the card and go blind. You look at the card and you see this pretty little runway of lights, sapphire, the back of the card pulsing with the lights, and it's really pretty. And I'm thinking I'm going to get me some of that nice G-Skill crystallized top RAM. Yeah. And I've got some 140 millimeter ARGBs, and I've got the Wraith Prism cooler. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking I'm going to make me a unicorn puke build. It's going to be pretty. That's what I'll probably use next year for the demo system.
The main things I like about RGB is you can set it to one color, and you can set it by theme. Boom. The whole crazy color thing, I don't really do. I fight with ORS software all the time to prevent my CPU block from doing Rainbow as it is right now. I really wish they'd make a software that controlled all RGB, so you didn't have to open up ORS, you didn't have to open up.
Wouldn't it be wonderful if they standardized this?
Yes, it would.
Would it not be wonderful if they stand? We're getting grief because we didn't include a cable for the RGB hookup for our video card. There's a reason we didn't do it. There's no standard. Not everybody has the same cable hookups because there's the 4-pin with the missing pin, which is what we use. So it's actually a 3-pin, but there's a gap in the middle. Then there's a true 4-pin. And then there's RGB that hooks to USB. And then there's... No! Okay, you can buy cables that will adapt between them. It's easier for us to let you buy the cable. It's easier for you, too, because you're still going to have to go out and buy the cable you need for your mother, probably. It's... RGB's okay. My personal... I build blackout builds. I don't put lights in my personal computer is not lit up. Because, well, this is a joke I've used a lot on Facebook and Twitter. I don't look longingly into the side panel of my computer while I'm gaming. I want to game. Okay, so I don't need it to be pretty. I need it to be functional and cool and quiet. Pretty's nice. This is my office. Nobody comes in my office but me, my wife, and my son. And they're not coming in here to see my PC. They're in here to either ask me for money, ask me for the car keys, or to yell at me that I did something wrong. So...
Yeah, I use it as a conversation starter a lot. Whenever I'm out and about, I'll show people pictures of mine. If they're looking at computers, say, hey, I can build you something really nice, especially if they're looking at a Best Buy gaming computer. And it'll be the same price as this, and I won't take no money. I just want to build you a computer just for the experience to do it,
Well, when I ran my shop, well, there's exceptions to this. When I ran my shop, I actually had on my desk, I don't know if you guys remember this, the Amtech Skeleton. And that was the computer I ran my main computer with at the shop. And I did that just for conversation. Because people look at that and go, that doesn't look like any computer I've ever seen. And then when I go to events, I'm using right now the Crystal 280X. Is that right? That's the mini ATX one. The reason I'm using that case, it's not a bad case, but the reason I'm using that case and it's got lights in it is because I'm going to shows. And I need to show off stuff. But when I'm sitting here at home just gaming, no.
Yeah,
I mean, my keyboard. I get grief about this. My keyboard, this is a G613. It's got no LEDs in it. And everybody's like, oh my God, you've got a keyboard without RGB? Yes, I do. But you know what? This thing runs on 2 AA batteries. Has the light speed technology, so it's really fast. It's hard. It's mechanical keys, and it's got an 8-month battery life.
Nice.
I love it. It's real wireless, not this faux crap where you gotta have a recharge cable laying around. That better not be a beer.
No.
It's early in the morning.
Mountain Dew.
Oh, you're an evil man. It's a Pepsi product.
What are you talking about? I only drink Mountain Dew. I had to go to Diet Mountain Dew, but...
Well, you see, I do Coke Zero. I go into restaurants and they'll be like they'll be like, what would you drink? And I'll say, what do you got diet? And they'll go, Diet Pepsi. Is that okay? Hell no. And then they freak out because I'm, no, you're not bringing me a Diet Pepsi. No. Do you have a Diet Dr. Pepper? Do you have a Diet Mountain Dew? No. Well, I'm leaving. And then my wife then starts giggling and oh well. All right, questions, guys, come on.
Yeah, no doubt. You guys, come on, contribute in, ask your questions.
And I'm open to anything. Doesn't mean I'll answer anything. I've gotten some weird questions, by the way. This is an AMA. Ask what you will.
One of the things that I've always wondered about is how come we already know the cards are coming. How come the secrecy till they're released?
I wish I had an answer for that one.
Well, I mean, okay, we already have the 5700 XT. We know that Sapphire is going to produce the Nitro and the Pulse. Why is it like, under wraps until it's there? The
I think
NDAs.
that I think the biggest reason for under wraps is finalization of tweaking. Um, Going back to the 480, I was actively involved in the 480 BIOS tweaking with performance versus power,
Mm-hmm.
and literally up to gosh, up to almost launch, we were still tweaking the BIOS. And we didn't want anybody to look at it until it was done. You know what I'm saying? Now, the BIOS tweak is easy because now you got these cards produced and they can rapid flash just dozens of these at a time. So it doesn't slow it down. But there's a lot of last minute tweaking that takes place in these cards to get them just right. And the other thing is, from when we know we're going to produce a card to we actually producing a card, there can be changes that will take place. One of the people, Paul's PC Gaming, asked when Toxic making a comeback. We ask that question every time we make a new video.
Yeah, I would love to see a Toxic come back.
Well, Toxic, there's a problem with Toxic, and the problem with Toxic is really exemplified in the 5700 series right now. Toxic is over the top. It is bin chips. It is super low yields because of the binning of the chips.
Mm-hmm.
It will be higher cost, higher speed RAM. It could be RGB for days and all aluminum plated. It's over the top. That's Toxic. It's over the top. Designing a video card is a balancing act. And it's a balancing act between what can we afford to put on this and keep the price point under control, and what do we need to put on this. So with Toxic, the problem comes down to, can we make a Toxic and keep it at a price point that is within reason for where the card's going to sit? And so that makes it becomes difficult to always bring in, and as these newer chips are faster and the segmentation is closer, it just makes it more difficult to bring in a Toxic. Now that doesn't mean we don't look and we don't try. It just means if we don't, that's because we looked at this and you just weren't willing to pay $700 for it. And he was. Now, I'm not saying that don't take anything I just said there as fact. None of that is fact.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's the reality that takes place in the card design world. That's why I'm excited. Again, I'm excited about Trix Boot for that reason. You get much higher performance potential and gameplay experience out of your card than the others can deliver blocks. So let me see what else we got here. Is there a liquid cooling cooled version come? You know, we've explored this more than once. I at this time I don't think so. The biggest reason for that is there's just not a huge market. I know that's not something anybody wants to hear. They don't want to hear, "Oh my God, there's not a huge market." But if you can only sell, okay, I'm going to say some stupid numbers because I don't know the reality on the big numbers. So we're going to say some stupid numbers, okay? Let's say that you've got a total market of 100 PC gamers,
Mm-hmm.
and 5 of those PC gamers are running liquid cooling. Is it worth the extra cost and development to create a card that only 5 people of your total market buy? Now, 5% in a big market would be a different story, but the margin's really small on this.
Yeah.
It's again, this is back to cost. We look at what it costs for us to produce it. We look at the potential market for it, and then we make the decision. It would be nice to make something for everyone, but that's just, man, it just gets expensive to do that. And I'm talking to the point that Asus, one of the biggest manufacturing companies in the world, really can't afford to do it as often as they do it. If they weren't making a ton of money on the motherboard side, they wouldn't be doing half of the things they do. Let's see. New to PC, talking about RGB. How long before RGB lights run out? I don't know if there's been a real longevity test ever done. In theory, a well-made ARGB strip should have a life of between 5 and 10 years of continuous use. In reality, well, gosh, manufacturing processes, the environment it's in just goes on and on and on. There's no simple answer. Next. They're being quiet. In the text chats on Facebook, it's not this quiet. People get riled up quick.
Yeah, they do, and it's like, wow. So, with Navi being the size that it is, we all know something bigger's coming.
We hope.
I mean, it's pretty much, it looks that way, but I mean, will AMD really target that top 2% of the PC gaming world? Do you think they will?
Okay, now this is, I have no information officially, okay? This is going to be Ed's opinion, not even Sapphire Ed's. This is Ed's opinion. I think they have to. I think it sucks that they have to. Because right now, with 5700 XT and down to the 570, that's like 90% of the PC gaming market in that range. It may even be bigger. Okay, that's a huge percentage of the PC gaming market in that range. Okay, let me even rephrase that, because that's not actually accurate, because laptop users come into play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a significant percentage of the PC market. Of the DIY gamers, it's probably a huge percentage of the PC market. I'd like to see the focus stay there, but I've always wanted to see the focus stay there, even when I was a reviewer. I think that this part of the market gets shafted. Let's say it like it is. They get shafted. Mm-hmm. Look at review sites. You commented on this. Every review site on the planet, when they go to do a review, they do it with the highest and best and most amazing hardware that nobody else can afford to own. What would they buy with their real money? I've actually done pieces on that, where I talk about what I would buy with my real money. And many of the parts I own, like I've got a 3800X here, right? Mm-hmm. When I built my wife's machine, I bought a 3600. Not because she doesn't need a fast part, but because it wasn't going to gain her anything as a gamer. I have a 3800X because AMD gave me one. I'd be silly not to use it. Yeah. But if I had to go buy a chip, I'd buy a 3600. I think that's an amazing chip.
Me too.
We get so focused because there's been this shift in the way many reviewers have worked over the years, and there is so much focus on the enthusiasts. The comment from in the Navy, there are too many chiefs and no Indians, and we've got 6 tons of enthusiast review sites. We don't have many review sites that focus on mid and low range, and that's where the majority of people are. Of our lineup of 5700 XTs and 5700s, the 5700 is, in my opinion, the better buy. It's a reasonable price point. You still get great 1440p gaming.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to buy a 5700 XT, personally, I'm buying a Nitro.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm buying a Nitro for all the wrong reasons. It's pretty, and it's super cool. It's super quiet, and but if I had to get a Pulse, I'd get a Pulse and not be upset. But when you're spending $400, an extra $40 isn't that big a deal to me.
No, same here. I mean,
if you get what you want, if you're getting what you want, that's the key. And if you're getting the gaming experience, again, this all comes back. I'll preach this mantra till the day I die. It's all about the gaming experience. It's not about the benchmarks. It's about the gaming experience. And that's a focus that I'd like to see more review sites go to. Like I said, when Steve started doing quality of life looks at the way he looks at things,
mm-hmm.
man, I almost did a standing ovation in my office. It's really cool to see his focus shift to that, especially since I've been preaching it for 2 years and I felt like nobody was listening. And I'm not saying Steve listened to me, by the way, for that. I'm not saying that. I think he came up to that all on his own. But it's a focus that doesn't get a lot of attention. Okay, so John has asked, supposedly I'm about to buy a Sapphire GPU, but I got a Gigabyte instead. John, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. How true Sapphire is really good on their designs. I want to know your experience with it. Well, gosh, you're going to take my experience and you're going to take it with a grain of salt because I work for Sapphire.
Oh, I can give them some with my Nitro.
We seriously make an effort. Now, I don't know about Gigabyte, but I know some other companies have done this, where a new chip comes out and they just go to whatever's on the shelf from whatever chip they got and go, oh, look, we can make that fit. And they slap it on and say they've got a new card. We don't look at that. Every time we make a new video card design, we actually, if it's exactly the same socket chip, we might look at reusing a cooler if it was powerful enough to handle it. If it's not, we always go back to the drawing board. We go back to the drawing board. We look at the cooling designs. We strive to have some of the coolest and quietest cards you can get. That's always been one of our goals. We don't always hit the mark perfect, but we come pretty close to the bullseye every time with it. Now, I'm not going to tell you to go return your Gigabyte and go buy a Sapphire. Yes, I am. But I guess what I want you to do is, when you get ready to buy a video card, I'd like for Sapphire to be the first name on your mind. Give us the first look. Give us the chance to see if we can deliver what you want. And then if we can't, you go somewhere else. I understand that. You're a consumer, and you're going to spend your money the way you want to. I really think our cooler designs are some of the best on the market, though, and I've got reviewers agreeing with that don't work for Sapphire. In fact, if you go far enough back to when I was a reviewer, before I ever worked for Sapphire, I actually publicly stated many times, if you were going to buy an AMD-based product or an ATI-based product, you needed to buy a Sapphire product. That was going to be the best experience. I've been real happy with our coolers. We've had a couple of stumbles, but I mean, look at what we've done. Go back to the Fury, the Tri-X Fury. A non-tech said it was the quietest cooler they had ever seen on a high-end video card. So quiet, it was quieter than many of NVIDIA's cards at idle while it was under load. That's an amazing statement to have said. Look at what Steve at Gamers Nexus has been showing when he looked at our cooler on our Nitro Plus 5700 XT. he actually, there's tons of room to be less aggressive with fans and keep the temperature cooler and keep everything else cooler. And we used a more aggressive memory cooling approach than everybody else did.
Yeah, and it
So
actually worked too, because you're actually higher on the memory than everybody else. I haven't seen
thank you,
anybody
Paul,
get
by
over
the
me.
way. Thank you, Paul, by the way. And you know what? There'll always be somebody bigger, faster, and better. What you want to strive for? What you want to strive for, like I said, is a community you can trust. And the one thing I like to make sure you guys know is, I'm one of you. I'm a gamer. I game 20 plus hours a week. Don't tell my boss. I game 20 plus hours a week. Well, listen, I'm working from home. When it's slow, I can jump in and game. I've got hundreds of hours in Division 2. I've started going back and playing. I didn't play Ghost Recon Wildlands, but I'm really excited about the new Ghost Recon, so I'm playing it. BattleTech, hundreds of hours. Borderlands 2, actually. Fallout 4. I play everything. There's nothing I don't play. Surviving Mars. 7 Days to Die. Lost in the Pacific. You name it, I play it. I'm not a flavor of the month gamer like a lot of other people in this industry are. Mm-hmm. And there's Iggy, my brother from another mother. Just don't tell our daddies. And I really want to you. I started computer gaming. Now I want to stress that. Computer gaming. This was on computers. I'm not talking video gaming. I'm not talking the little handhelds. Real computer gaming in 1977. And I've been computer gaming ever since. I built my first computer when the 386 is launched. So whenever that was. The 386 was the first computer I built. I have owned practically every model of personal computer that's ever come to exist, and I've gamed on them all. I've helped with beta testing software of, I think at last count it was 130 different games I've been a beta tester on. And I'm not talking beta testers today where you hand the game company money and they go, here's early access and we're going to ignore what you say. I'm talking about where I had to fill out an application and got a copy of the game free at the end of it for filing reports 20 times a week on various aspects that we had to find problems with. I love PC gaming. PC gaming has been my life. It's been my livelihood. And because I work at Sapphire, which is a thrill for me to be able to work at Sapphire, I've been involved in product design. I've been involved in new product ideas. I've been involved in product testing, tech support. And they take this experience and they use it and they listen. Now, I don't always get my way, but they listen. Mm-hmm. And I think the best example of that, you have to go back to I think it was the 280. Wasn't it the 280 that we introduced the ITX card for? I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember it was the first AMD-based ITX card at that time. And that came about because of a conversation I had with some gamers at a LAN event, and I came back and started beating the drum. And they listened, and we produced an ITX video card. I'm trying to get us to produce one now, but these cards are a little harder to get down that small. But that's, you asked, is our cooler that much better? Yeah, our cooler's better. I think our staff is better. I think our commitment to the gaming community is better. I think our commitment to the quality of the gaming community experience is better. And I'll put anything we put against anybody else in the industry. We're one of the smallest companies in the industry. We punch way above our weight class. So, next.
Anybody got something to add? Want to ask?
Anything. Like I said, I've been asked some weird questions. I've been asked stuff like boxers and briefs, and in the middle of a LAN event, 500 people standing in front of me. I did an AMA, and this girl goes, "Boxers or briefs?" Not going to answer it unless anybody asks. So, nah.
I've always been a huge PC gamer. I think my first setup was the 64, and then I had a Franklin 2200.
We did Commodore 64 was the first computer I really modded. There was a mod you could do to the Commodore 64. It was a circuit board. I actually had an electrician help me with this because I never messed with a breadboard before. Mm-hmm. But you could put the equivalent of 10 floppies into memory with this board. And so I had this massive multiple RAM disk. And I'd take all my favorite games. You'd have to load them up and store them on. And every time there was a power outage, I'd cry like a little girl. Because I'm like, oh no, I got to do that. That level of tweaking has really... It's disappeared, but you know what? It's not as terrible of a thing as it sounds. I mean, guys, back in the early days of computer gaming, often you couldn't even buy the game in a store. You'd buy a copy of Byte magazine, and there'd be like 20 pages of basic code. And Star Trek games were the most common. And you would have to type in all that code to get the game that you wanted to play. And then you'd save it, in my case, when I first started with this, you'd save it to a cassette drive. Now, this wasn't data the way you think it was. This sounded like a bad modem. And it was sound being converted to data points and put on a cassette drive. And so then you go to play the game, and we didn't have fancy editors and stuff in the early days of this. And you go to play the game wouldn't run, and you'd have to go through all those lines of code again to try to find which one you messed up. Mm-hmm. So there was always a mess. There was a program created, it was a checksum editor, which, by the way, we had to type in to be able to have it. But the checksum editor, and what would happen then is at the end of the lines of code, it'd be a checksum. And you'd compare the checksum as you go down. We had to do that. Early days of DOS, it was magic the way you would configure high and low memory to be able to get your games to load properly. Config sys and auto execute bat editing skills were an art form. We've had all this stuff getting to where we are today, and I hear gamers today, they'll be all upset and they'll be like, "Oh my God, this is terrible. I actually have to enter a password to get on." Oh my God, seriously. That's all you got to do. Go type 5 pages of basic code and shut up. It was not. It was fun. We loved every minute of it. We adored every minute of it. Play a Jill in the Jungle. Oh my God! You mean somebody here's as old as I am? Oh my God! And what's really sad is all the remakes that people are starting to do of old games, and it's not there. World of Warcraft is a classic example of this for me. But go back about 3-4 years ago, I was doing some live streaming, and we decided we wanted to do something fun and different. And Leisure Suit Larry had just been remade. And I remember playing Leisure Suit Larry. It was hilarious. It was so much fun. And so I went out and I bought the game and I loaded it up. And after playing it for 15 minutes, I'm looking at everybody going, this isn't as much fun as I remember it being. There was just some wild stuff back then. Some wild stuff. 8076, 2.5 inch floppies. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember those days. I remember fighting that low mem. I remember floppy, well, stiffies, because they were 3.5s. But we did the 5.25 inch too. I remember you'd buy a box of 100, and you go over to a buddy's house, and there'd be software trading. And out of a box of 105.25, you were lucky if you got 60 of them that worked.
Yeah. Oh.
Mr. Floyd, welcome to the Lloyd. I'm sorry, welcome to the jungle. Come on, guys. I got about another 10 minutes. I can do this. Let's get some other questions in.
Will the trick software work with the reference Sapphire card?
Okay. What I know for it to do, it will work. What with the? Hold on a second. I'm sending my brother a note. When I get done here, we've got to make a trip. My sister was in an accident. We're going down to check on her. It will work with the 5700 series reference cards. I have not tested it with like Vega, and I would love to hear somebody that can test it for me with Vega. I'm not sure. I do know that with the 5700 series reference cards, it's not just our reference cards it will work with. It's any reference 5700 it will work with. And that's because nobody really changes the BIOS of the reference cards. And that's the way we read if it's a Sapphire card or not. So we'll work with that. It will also work with, I've tested all the way down to a 460, and Trix Boost works with it. So that's not the new Trix, though.
So just install the...
You've got to get the 7.0 Trix. Right. Now, you're not going to get... All the overclocking features are not... We're directing people to Wattman if they're wanting to overclock. Because... Reasons. I'll leave it there. But you do have the ability to monitor, see how your system is doing. Yeah, Trix 7. If you've got a Nitro Plus, you're going to have the ability to check the fans and control the RGB. And everybody should be able to use Trix Boost. The only thing you might miss is if your driver doesn't support it or your card doesn't have support yet, you might not have Radeon image.
Oh, I have the Fidelity mod for reshade. My headset died.
All right, next question.
There we go. I'll let you know. Downloading.
Yeah, guys, if you've got a Vega reference card, or what was 580 and 480 both had reference cards. Well, if you've got one of those and want to test it, I'd love to hear on it. Stream had an invalid response according to the group. Hey, that was NVIDIA. They didn't like what I said.
I don't even want to go into the NVIDIA topic. I mean, awesome company as far as what they do, but they also really hurt their customers.
I have to sit quietly and smile. I'm not gonna. You know what? I don't want to trash my competition because I don't care. Everybody gets focused on that. What's your competition doing? I don't care what my competition is doing. What I'm doing is this: making a great product to let you have a great gaming experience. Here it is. Enjoy. Whatever the competition's doing to me is irrelevant. Our focus is that.
Yeah, I think AMD should troll NVIDIA by releasing something that competes with the 2080 Ti and then have something in the back burner so whenever they release the answer for that card to just hit them with. And I think that a lot of opinions will change.
You know what though? We're back to frame rates. Okay, you're back to frame rate numbers. Frame rate numbers are cool, but this is about, again, I'm going to steal Steve's phrase. I told you I was going to steal it, Steve. It's quality of life. It's
It's
what's the experience? Screw the benchmarks. What's the gaming experience that you're having? Is it smooth? Is it stable? Is the card cool? Is it quiet? If you've achieved these things and you've got it at the price point you're happy with, you've got a perfect card. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing, Justin, the next iteration of the chips. I really do want to see them. I don't. I'm in PR. I don't get that advanced notice. Shower time. Iggy, it's like 11 in the morning for you. Shower time. You know what, Justin? Justin mentioned the 5700 XT can handle ray tracing too. It's just terrible at it. You want to talk ray tracing? Here's the problem. The ray tracing we're seeing right now is not real ray tracing.
Nah, it's 0.03 per pixel.
It's a tiny fraction of a specifically targeted form of the ray tracing process. There is no video card on the planet right now that can handle true ray tracing unless you go to really old games. And I mean, seriously, okay? You're going to pay for a $1,000 video card and turn it into a 1080p 60 frame per second gamer? That to me is the frustration in this industry. Is you'll watch some reviewer talk about they've got a $3,000 processor, a $1,000 motherboard, $1,000 worth of liquid cooling solution, two $1,000 video cards, and they're going, man, I'm so impressed. Look how this plays 4K. Dude, for that much money, it better play 4K, fold my laundry, and make me a sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, why are you amazed? It should look beautiful. You just bought a car. Okay, it should look beautiful. What amazes me is when you watch a $350 chip hammer 1440p at the speeds of chips that cost a couple of $100 more.
Yeah.
That impresses me. Welcome to Sapphire Pulse 5700. There you go. But anyway. I don't know that there's any level of performance outside of super rendering farms that can do a full ray tracing scene in real time. I don't know that it exists.
And 3ds Max at the same settings as like they do in games for the rays and stuff, I can do real time on my 64. It's not quite 60, it's about 45, 55 in there in 3ds Max. At 100% raise, forget it.
Yeah, but even that isn't throwing the level of variables that a video game throws.
That is true.
And so you start to throw the video game into the loop. I mean, this whole thing is kind of back to the way NVIDIA did tessellation. I don't know if you guys recall this.
Yeah.
So Witcher 3 came out, and NVIDIA just rocked the house with it. It was amazing when tessellation turned on. And AMD tanked with tessellation turned on until somebody went in and looked. And what they had done is turn on a ridiculous, what was it, 16 times level of tessellation, which was impossible to see. You couldn't see it. So they took it down to 4 times, and suddenly AMD cards were keeping up just fine. They were doing a great job. And I commented back at the time, this makes no sense. I mean, sure, with the full tessellation on, you can zoom in on a wolf and look and make sure if he's got dander in his fur or not. But who's got time to do that when he's trying to eat your face? You don't want to do this. And again, this is coming back to what I said before. It's all about the gameplay experience. These neat new features are amazing.
Yes.
Okay? They are. They're incredible features. But if they're not making your game experience better, then I don't think you should put the effort into worry about them. Tessellation makes amazing screenshots. Actual gameplay, people I know with the cards tell me that they end up turning it off because they lost frame rate. They don't have a smooth gameplay experience, which is more important than if the light refracting off of the puddle is the right color. It's gameplay experience. Again, this is back to why we did what we did with Trix Boost. Man, I just keep getting to plug those commercials. It's all about making a better gameplay experience. Letting you pick and choose how your gameplay experience is going to be. Seriously, try it. If you've got a Sapphire, download Trix Boost, or Trix 7, and get Trix Boost. Turn it on, drop the detail level on a 1440p or a 4K display down to 90%. Now, you can do it with 1080. I don't think it's as dramatic, the impact is. And drop it down and turn on image sharpening if you have it available. And then go play your game. And I defy you to tell me that during gameplay, there's enough fidelity of image quality loss that you care. But you will find you got a nice performance boost. Everything is on Ultramax desk settings. You know what, Justin? I've done this discussion before. And in fact, Brian P. over at Bad Seed Tech actually took my challenge and found out I was right. Go play your games instead of on Ultra on high. And you'll find that your gameplay experience is better because it's smoother, but the image quality difference is non-existent. When developers make video games, and I know a lot of developers, when they make video games, their target is 1080p high, not ultra. 1080p high is their target for what they want you to experience the game at. Ultra is put in because people want to take glamour shots. They want to stop the game. They want to focus into a specific point and take a shot. Hell, NVIDIA made a whole tool just to do that.
Yeah, they did for Pascal.
And you know what? That's neat if you're posting the glamour shots and that's what you do. I just want to play the game. I don't care about the glamour shots. I want a smooth gaming experience. And yeah, no. Wow, 500 gigs of screenshots. That's just the porn, right? I mean, that's just your porn screenshot collection, right? Because otherwise, we got to talk. You've got a serious problem there, and I think an intervention is due. Oh, Star Citizen. Okay.
So this one's going to go off of the Navi topic. Was the 7 a placeholder?
Yeah, I can't answer that because I don't know what AMD is thinking. I've got my personal opinions, but on this one, I'm probably going to keep my mouth shut. That should give you enough of an answer.
Yeah.
I think a couple of cards. The Fury, my belief was the Fury was a proof of concept chip. It was to prove HBM could be done. The Vega was the HBM chip. I don't know what they were thinking with 7. I don't know what their positioning was with 7. My opinion is 7 is a prosumer chip less than a gamer chip. It's a professional level. It's a professional level video card that can game. Is what it is. It's not a gaming card that can do professional level work. It's a professional level video card that can game. And there's a distinction there in that description, I think.
If they did a 7 Nitro, if you guys did a 7 Nitro, I would have bought 2. I mean, regardless of game performance, I would have bought 2.
Well,
just off of the name, just from my little short period that I've been on this Nitro here on the Vega 64, I would have bought 2.
I appreciate that. All right, let's do one more question. I need to get off here.
What you guys got for him?
Come on, hit me with your best shot. Give me something. This has been fluff ball, underhand. Give me a fastball.
Yeah, it's going to be a couple of seconds for the stream to catch up.
That's all right. 3700X boost? I'm not sure I understand the question. Oh, Lord. You're going to ask me to... Okay, we'll do another question. Yeah, good luck. That's all I'll say. Between motherboard and RAM and proper cooling solutions, though the 3700X is hard to cool, it's actually pretty easy to cool. The fact it won't go above, I'd say it's a motherboard issue.
Yeah, I would say BIOS more than likely.
It could be RAM. It could be RAM, but I doubt it. You know, I'm not going to say that bung clocks. I think there is misunderstanding of how boost clocks are work, and they bung the definition. I think the other problem they have had, and this problem they've seen in the past, is motherboard manufacturers aren't putting the same level of focus on AMD products that they put on Intel. And I don't believe the BIOSes are getting the same level of scrutiny by the motherboard manufacturer before they implement it. So I'm willing to give AMD a little bit of a pass. The 3000 series, seriously, there is no reason on earth to buy a 3000 or to buy an Intel chip if you're a gamer right now. 3600 just is nuts crazy, and if you need the extra cores, 3700X. And anything from Intel, it looks pretty in a benchmark, but doesn't make an experience difference in gameplay. All right, one more, because that was a lame question.
Paul, you got anything for Ed?
If we do this again, you guys are going to have to get aggressive with these questions.
It's my first time around, but I'm learning. I mean,
That's all right.
To learn.
All right, so nobody else has got any questions.
Yeah, a lot of mine was covered pretty good too, Paul.
We need more prep time. He told everybody it was an AMA.
Yep. All 3 times. And I'm surprised we didn't have more groups.
What we'll do is, why don't we do this? Why don't we schedule something now for, say, after Thanksgiving or before Thanksgiving? We can talk about the Christmas shopping season and stuff too.
Yeah, Black Friday would be really interesting.
Yeah, well, don't do it on Black Friday. You want to do it before Black Friday so they've got time to look at it.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead. We'll schedule something far out in advance. That way everybody's got plenty of notice. Sapphire Nation needs more of your streams. Marcin, I completely agree, but we were discussing this before the stream went live. If I'm a guest for a stream, I don't mind doing it because I just need a camera and a mic and I'm good. But actually producing streams are just too much of a pain in the ass for me. And I've tried streaming directly. I've done Twitch and YouTube and everything else. And I'm not a mentally healthy person to be a full-time streamer. What I mean by that is, to build an audience, you have to kind of sell a part of your soul. You have to get stupider and stupider to get more people on. And I just like bringing good content and having fun, and I don't want the stress. And I'm competitive, though, so when I see the numbers aren't there, then I try to figure out how to get there, and I get stupid. And it just becomes a mess. So I've pretty much given up doing my own streaming. I'll do interviews with people and have fun.
As I learn, I'm going to probably be doing more of this. Hopefully, getting more people on. would be great.
Yep, and I think get some good guests. Try to get some folks from AMD to come on and join you. Other partners. I think you could build yourself a regular stream here for at least even just once a month.
Yeah.
To be able to have a stream here for the community.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I don't really look to make any kind of gains. Any kind of gains I do make would go back to the community because, I mean, I just don't need it. I mean, everything's fine in my life for once. So it's
yep.
like, okay, let's give back.
But, all right, guys, on that note, I have to get out of here.
Yep, you guys take care. See you in the group.
See you guys. Bye.